apply for insurance of the serial number. For non-contracted learners, the documents that are required are application form to attempt the trade test, 3 clear certified ID copies from the original, academic qualification, not mandatory for ARPL. So if the candidate comes to you, does not have any formal qualification, we don't return that candidate back, but we do accept them. And then service letter. So for ARPL candidates, it's all of the above, including statement of results. So a candidate who's gonna do the test, who went through the ARPL process, will be issued with a statement of results. That statement of results is access to trade test. In the event that the candidate does not have a service letter, an affidavit is accepted for the ARPL program. So the contents of the affidavit, it must be verifiable. So if a candidate decides to do ARPL process but does not want to take a service letter from the employer, can go and do an affidavit and have 3 verifiable references. So it doesn't mean, or if the candidate is ARPL candidate does not have a service letter, is not allowed to bring an affidavit, as long as you can be able to verify the employment. Then after trade testing, so the candidate now have went through the testing processes. So trade test report, trade test feedback report will be issued to the candidate, and then after that you populate the trade test report in a NAMB format. The accredited trade test center must submit the result within 5 working days to the relevant SETA and not to NAMB. So after all the processes have been taken place, and then the test is being done, the center has 5 working days to submit the results to the SETA, because the SETA only have the profile of the candidate, but they don't have the results. So you have only 5 working days to make sure those results are submitted to the SETA. So before I move to occupational qualification, is there any question? Okay.
So I would like to ask, should it happen to somebody submit common results after 5 days? Saying what's the consequence of it? How can you manage the situation?
Unfortunately, there's no penalties for that, but now it delayed the process because the certificate has to be issued within 3 months. But if the results are not submitted to the SETA, there's no penalties. We still accept. But if the results, like for now, candidates who are tested in 2020 and 2021 until March, you need to write a memo explaining why are you submitting the result now. But that one, we at NAMB, we ask the SETA, because according to our understanding, we think that the results are already submitted to the SETA. It is them who took time to submit to us. So we will write back to the SETA and ask them to submit a memo on why they submitted the results now, the application now. So the 5 years ones, we need a memo explaining that situation.
Okay, with a situation where learners attended, they were conducted attendance, but then at a later stage, we realized that they actually qualified for ARPL. So now, can they be done with ARPL because the city is refusing the same, because these learners were conducted? In as much as we have realized that they qualify for ARPL, they must still trade test through the QCT process.
So the candidates were apprentices, and then were they funded?
Yes.
Because apprentices can never qualify for ARPL because they only have 12 months experience.
Yes,
They don't have 3 years.
But I'm saying you realize that we did not get that from the onset, that they actually were working before.
They were working before,
Yes.
and evidence is in place.
Yes.
3 years experience or more.
Yes.
And then there's what documents did you submit? Remember, if you submit documents like the ones I saw last time, it was both. So the sitter won't be able to differentiate them, like myself as well, because I saw them, there were contracts, then there's service letters, now there's SOR. So I wouldn't know they belong to which qualification or which application type. So if they are contracted learners, there should be a contract in place. If they are ERPL, service letter, 3 years experience, and SOR, you can't submit both because it confuses the whole application.
Yes, but I'm saying because let's say they discovered that they actually have 3 years experience before they even went on to this program.
Are you going to check through them the ARPL process?
We were opting for that, but the funder is saying no, they need to complete through the apprenticeship in as much as they can provide the service letters that show the 3 years.
So,
Maybe if I can assist, the learners came here with being apprentices,
Yes,
and later on we discovered that no, they were to have gone through the ERPL process.
yes,
So the learner did not disclose that they actually want to go through the ERPL process.
yes. The learners will not have disclosed because they don't know the processes. So it's us now during monitoring that we realize that these learners actually were working before and they are meeting the requirements for ARPA.
And how long will they be in the contract? That's what I would-
They've been long, they are now on the stage of testing through the conduct. It's just that the QCG or takes long, they still have to do the monitoring.
Oh, it's for occupational qualification.
Yes.
Oh, let's just allow the people just to finish what they're doing. And like taking them. Because remember, any procedure, whenever they do the learner, they do specifically know the salary.
Yes.
They go from the first year after they took the pay, you have to be specific for as per the leadership of this. So, but if now you're going to remove them and test them through the year, remember, QCQ is still waiting for the learner to exam.
Yes.
Because remember, between the STP and the QCQ is what we call learner registration. Then that you see that. So the QCQ will keep on putting that one day we want to certify these learners. That's when they enroll them. Unless if they are good, the same as you know, we want to do the year. So, but in this case, let's just allow the learner to proceed.
Okay.
and those learners are they registered with QCT?
Yes.
And how long they been in contract? I didn't get that much.
This is their third year.
They are almost done.
Mm.
I think you should allow them to exit exercise. Don't take them through the ARPL process because you still have to re-register, and it's gonna be another lengthy process. And then when does the contract end?
That was the reason why I wanted to put them to the ARPA because the contract was ending in March.
Ended already,
Yes.
and they were not retested yet.
They were not yet tested. Because of the
How many were there?
4, I think.
4.
Yes. But the employer, what they've done, they have requested, they've done an extension for the additional 6 months. But now it's a cost to the employer because they are no longer on the funding. The employer has to put the bill of stipend.
I think the employer as well gave you the extension so that they can exit the qualification. I think you should also communicate with EWC so that they can also assist you by visit you to come for monitoring and evaluation within that 6 period. 6
Yes,
months
this is
period.
why I say they will do monitoring in May. In May.
No, maybe you should also remind them that they must exit with certificate, with trade testing. Even if there's no certificate, it's okay. But trade testing must be done with the
Okay.
You can also give us the name of those labs so that we can check with Kate.
Okay.
Any other?
If I may ask, is it possible that you can spend more than 8 months without receiving your trade test certificate? Okay. Are there possible reason for that?
I'll show you the lessons at the end of at the end of my presentation. the most common reasons that delays the application.
So, I wanted to understand on the issue of affidavits. You said there is an ARPL and the learner should have 3 references on affidavit. So sometimes we find out the learner is self-employed. What type of affidavits should they produce?
Okay, for example, right? Remember, we are government. Even a learner is self-employed. It means that he has a company and he needs to register that company. So he's self-employed, but he's got his own company, a registered company. And I don't think that learner works alone. For example, if a learner is a carpenter or plumber or tiler or something, obviously he works for certain homes and all that. They can give him like a reference that I did this here. Because in our section, there's also this thing they call it workplace approvals. So I don't know if you have heard about it. Like if they feel like now we have to go and check these workplaces if they do exist. That's where they come in. So when we say affidavit, we don't just say you just write, I've got 7 years experience, blah, blah, blah. No. We need an affidavit that says, I'm working here, I'm self-employed, this is my company registration number, my VAT, but I'm self-employed in my company. Then I've got this house number 1, I did electrical plumbing and what in this house. Then in that one, I did 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Then we will call and confirm if that's true. Yeah, that's what we refer to. Not only affidavit explaining, but verifying it.
My questions just goes to the I want to know because in the instances that we had, where most self-employed people don't have actually registered companies.
Unfortunately, we won't certify. We need registered companies. You need to register the company. If you're self-employed, you need to run a business, you need to register it.
Okay. So maybe a reference from someone that they once did something, maybe they're building or something for those people who want to be valid enough to prove that that person got that experience already.
As long as we can prove that you were working for that person. But if you're self-employed, it means you have a company, you're running a company, you have to register it. Because even like this, I don't know if you have ever checked like the PCTO website or NAMB website, everything that we are saying is explained there. We don't just accept it, everything. We need legal stuff. Okay, can I move on to occupational qualification? So with occupational qualification, the enrollment and ISA registration, it starts with QC2O. The minute we have any candidate, the process starts with QC2O. So the skills development provider and assessment centers must enroll the learners with QC2O within 21 days after the start date of training. This is the email address for learner enrollment at QC2O. And then the SDP must register learners with QC2O for ISA. This is the ISA readiness email address. And then ensure that the STP, the trade test center, or the assessment center are accredited by QC2O, and they have assessors and moderators registered with NAMB. So for contracted learners, the entry requirement, any other exempted qualification as per the QC2O circular. So in occupational qualification, we don't refer to trade test regulation, we refer to the QC2O circular because the entry requirements, they differ per trades. So there should also be a structured learning. The learner must have successfully completed all modules in the curriculum. The curriculum is there on the QC2O website. It must have both the knowledge the practical, and the workplace. So for the non-contracted learners, so it's an unstructured learning, workplace experience in the relevant trade. Learners must successfully complete the ARPL process, the portfolio of evidence of the candidate to access the trade test. It replaces the logbook. So in a case where you submit the candidates who are contracted learners or non-contracted learners, the SOR, the POE replaces the logbook. So learners will be assessed on knowledge, practical and workplace demonstrations, like interviews. So the learner will be interviewed, will also go through the knowledge module and the practical modules. The ARPL assessments must be conducted using a NAMB approved toolkit. So there's a section there at NAMB, they call it Traders Development Unit. They are the ones who issue this assessment toolkits. So when you have candidates who want to go the ARPL process, you approach that section. So pre-ISA readiness. The skills development provider must submit learner information to the QC2O once all modules are successfully completed. So once all those modules on the SOR are completed, then you submit, the SCP will submit to the QC2O. The statement of results with knowledge, practical and workplace modules. So all those modules in the statement of results documents. So those modules, there's a separate documents that guide you on how to populate the statement of results. All these things that are on the QC2O website. Treated them 5 working days prior to each. So there's a section at NAMB before you do your test, you plan your dates. So the minute you have dates, you submit to NAMB in a format of a schedule, 5 working days prior each month end. So currently at NAMB, they are telling us to also check schedules. So don't be surprised now that you get rejections like candidate not on schedule. Some issues there with centers that they don't submit schedules. We trusted them, but they don't submit. So now, going forward, we are going to check the schedule before we do recommendation. QC2O assessment unit requests the quality partners to release the serial number to the STP for learners who meet the requirements to sit for the ISA. In this case, when all the documents are there in place and the candidate meets the requirement, QC2O will give the sitter a go-ahead to issue a serial number for those candidates. So, before ISA, application form to attempt the trade test in a NAMB format, 3 clear certified ID copies from the original, the qualification as per the QC2O circular, statement of results, learnership agreement if the candidate is a contracted learner, service letter if the candidate is a non-contracted learner. Then after all these are in place, after the ISAs, now the candidate went for trade test, was issued with a feedback report, then the trade test report signed by the assessor, moderator, and center manager is populated. The internal moderation report, if the candidate were internally moderated, then if that trade has theory, a written component mark sheet in the Excel template will also be issued out. Then the quality assurance report will also be issued out. Quality assurance report is just a document like when you plan your days, you publish all those days on the QA report and they must correspond with the written component mark sheet and as well as the trade test report dates. The post-moderation report for theory assessment component moderation. If that trade has a theory, then you do the post-moderation report after you have completed your written component mark sheet. Then recommendation to QC2O by NAMB for the approval of results. So the process for occupational qualification has additional 21 working days because we don't send applications straight for printing. We send for approval first of the results. So when we send for approval, these are the documents we send to the QC2O. Examiner report or developer report is in the NAMB format. Moderator report is in the NAMB format. Quality assurance report is in the QC2O format. Post-moderation report is in the QC2O format. Internal moderation report is in the NAMB format. The statement of results is in the QC2O format. Clear certified ID copy. Status report verified by NAMB. Written component result on Excel spreadsheet. Then we have a system NAMB whereby we create this file. We call it file 3. Then we also have a declaration form that we sign for submission. So all these documents they are the ones that we send to the QC2O for occupational qualification for approval of the results. So after the QC2O assessment unit have approved the results, if all the evidence meet the requirements for approval of results and certification, then QC2O themselves, they will conclude the approval of results and process and notify the AQP. AQP in this case is NAMB because we are the ones who submitted for the approval of results. Then they will send the letter for approval. The letter of approval is when they say, yes, you can go ahead and print the certificate. The remedial letter also they will send and say, no, we cannot print due to the following reasons. So recommendation for certification issuing will be sent to the certification unit. Then after that, they issue the letter, they'll send to the certification section. Then certification unit will process the issuing of certification within 21 working days from the date of result approval. So the certification section. So the assessment section has 21 working days to do all the verification they need to do. Then the certification unit as well, they've got 21 working days. So it means at QC2O, the occupational qualification, it takes 42 working days for the certificate to be issued. So this is just an application form to attend the test in the format, like it's a checklist. So when they sit, in this case, when they compile application, because not all the documents that you submit to the SITA are a requirement of NAMB. So some of them they need to stay with the SITA. So serial number provided by SITA for now. The reason why in brackets it says for now is because NAMB has signed a service level agreement with the SITA to issue the serial number on their behalf, because currently we don't have a system to issue serial numbers. Now NAMB is in the process of developing their own system. It's called Artisan Trade Test System to issue the serial number. Currently, for now, it's SITA who issue the serial number on our behalf. So learnership agreement, contracted learner, because this side it says Y and N. If the candidate's serial number was issued, you just tick yes. Learnership agreement, if it's a contracted learner, you said yes. Service letter, if you have attached, you said yes. Statement of results, certified copy of learner's ID document. So at NAMB, we don't need all three of them. We only need one. The SITA will submit one. FLC, Foundation Learning Competency Certificate, or any exempted qualification as per the QC2O circular. So if the candidate per the QC2O circular, you attach them. We always say attach the highest qualification, because sometimes in application you'll find the candidate has 4 qualifications and they attach. We need the highest. So trade test report, SAPA ID to be indicated. Trade test report, you indicate the SAPA ID if the qualification is occupational. But if it's legacy, you leave it blank. Internal moderation report, you attach it if the candidate was moderated, but only for occupational. For legacy, we don't need the internal moderation report. Quality assurance report is in the QC2O template. Then post-moderation report is in the QC2O template. So this QA report assessment unit, when you click there, it will show you the document. Just for example, I don't want to click now. post-moderation report, QC2O template, written component mark sheet, QC2O template, copy of the trade test accreditation letter. So for the center to be sure that is accredited, we need the accreditation letter. Copy of assessor and moderator proof of registration with NAMB. So the assessors and moderators need to be registered with NAMB and linked to the center. So the assessor from center A cannot assess at center B. Such applications will be rejected. So coming to your question, these are the most common reasons why we reject applications after submission from the center. So we will not recommend name on the trade test report basis on the ID copy. So the names on the ID copy, they must correspond with the names on the trade test report. Certifying of copies or ID copies not clear. Currently, we have a huge problem with the smart cards. Most of them, when they come to us, they are already blurry, so it's a problem. So at least maybe the center can assist the candidates by just making them like a little bit large. Assessor accreditation proof not attached or expired. Assessor assessed the candidate, but when you look at the letter, he was not supposed to assess that candidate because he was expired. So with such letters, it will be a problem for us to comment. Assessor signed but did not put the date. Assessor signed the treated report. He put his names, he put the signature, but he did not put the date of the signature date. The reason for that is that we know that the results, remember that submission 5 working days. So let's say maybe you don't sign the results, you sign after 10 working days. It's a problem. Such treatise reports it will cause a conflict in the application. We will return because the regulation says 5 working days. It means by then we would have signed all the treatise report because that's the only document that is outstanding in the application. Contract signed, but contract not signed by all parties. Contract in place, the learner did not sign, the lead employer did not sign, and the sitter did not sign. Those application cannot be accepted. Both contract and not candidate is a contracted learner, but candidate is an apprentice, not yet completed. Those kind of treatment support we do not accept. Standardized documents. If you see on my presentation, most of the documents I'll be saying QC2O format, NAMB format. If the documents are not in a standardized format for both NAMB and QC2O, we will not accept. Sitters using feedback reports to apply for a certificate. Sometimes when sitters submit applications, they will attach a feedback report in the application, and feedback report will be recommend for certificate. I have to sign. They said the candidate meets the requirement. Now they can issue the certificate. So with such feedback report, it's not going to be easy for us to recommend. Assessment moderated but not signed by the moderator. Recently, we have this new issue whereby a moderator will just put his names there. Then they don't sign, they don't put the date. And when we question them, they'll be like, no, I did not moderate, I did 10% moderation. But why put your name there? To us, it looks like you forgot to sign. If you have not moderated, you leave the column as is. We understand fully that you only did 10% moderation, which is in the regulation. We won't penalize that application. Statement of result not fully completed or signed. Most of them is the ones for occupational. Occupational statement of result, there's a column there whereby you have to put